Um, in this week's video, I'm gonna go through week 3 um, instructor guidance and focus on important things concerning critical discourse analysis. I have uploaded already videos on metaphors. Please have a watch of that. It's about metaphors we live by Lakoff and Johnson, a very good book, and it explains to you the concept and the theory behind conceptual metaphor. So I do want each one and everyone to watch that video. I also uploaded 2 videos on critical discourse analysis. Now, as we learned in week 1, even the very first week, when we said discourse analysis is beyond language. Yes. And that's why when we say discourse analysis is beyond language, we're invoking the idea that discourse analysis is interdisciplinary. Because when you're analyzing discourse, it's not only language. Yeah, there are levels, as you can see in the video, the second video in Fairlaw's concept of discourse, critical discourse analysis. You will find that when we're analyzing at different levels. We analyze at the word level, we analyze at the sentence level, utterance level, and even beyond context level. And later on, we'll see that we also analyze at the society level. So from the minutest element, which would be the word, to the highest, which is society. And that's why it is interdisciplinary. We need, as an analyst, you need to know what is the context. You need to know the backdrop. And this brings into the picture the aspects that we also discussed in week 1 and in the assignment of week 1, when the assignment asked you to analyze the excerpt that you are analyzing in terms of aspects that shape discourse and are shaped by discourse. You will find in the videos that I have uploaded about critical discourse analysis is that critical discourse analysis, or CDA, attends to power dynamics. Language can be power, and you will see that by the use of certain language, some people give themselves or would like to be identified with a certain aspect of power and give themselves more power using that type of language, that register, or the words and the jargon that makes them sound powerful. So in CDA, it looks in the discourse to find out and analyze who is denied power in the discourse. Because with CDA, you actually use the language at the word level, sentence level, utterance level, context level to understand the dynamics, to understand not only the dynamics of the language itself, but also to understand the dynamics of ideology, let's say. So, for instance, you from the analysis, you understand who's given power, who's denied power, what are the power differentials. And you'll find that the discourse itself, which is text, is in fact reflects ideology and also is a product. So it's a product of a certain ideology. It reflects the ideology, is a power, is a product of ideology. But at the same time, it's the means by which the ideology is circulated, is distributed. So when we say discourse analysis is interdisciplinary, yes, because it involves not only language, but it involves other stuff, other components. And here, when we say that, we also take into consideration the concept of intertextuality, prior texts, how prior texts are influencing a certain discourse. When we say prior text, is like citing, like when you're writing in an academic paper and you're citing, this is prior text. What kind of prior texts are used? So for instance, you can see that in the second video, Furlow's video, how different texts can have impact. By citing different texts in a given discourse, you are actually giving more power to a certain thing over another. So when we talk about discourse analysis, there are certain things that are related with a given society. We can have certain ideologies, power differentials, and let's say gender models, and also social relationships. In discourse analysis, because it deals with the society at large, it addresses social problems. It actually, as I said, it constitutes society and culture. It reflects society and culture, and at the same time, it actually is a product of society and culture. So this is how you see how it is interrelated. Okay. The link between text and society is mediated. Yes. This explains the concept of intertextuality. What do I mean by intertextuality? What do I mean by prior texts? For instance, in certain societies and cultures, the religious book, the sacred books are very important. And what comes in the sacred book can mute anybody, can convince anyone. So if there is something that comes out of the sacred book, it may not give, a choice or option to people to discuss a certain thing, because it's it's the word of the sacred book. So that's it. We cannot discuss it. This tells you how important citing prior texts and what influences the society, how discourse influences the society. When you go through this instructor guidance and look about these points that are discussed in CDA, you analyze the discourse, whether speech or writing, not from the language point of view only, from everything, from context, from history, from what you know. Let's say if it's an organization, what you know about that organization, what do you know about the speaker, what do you know about the writer, what is that writer's philosophy. So everything is at play here. In the second video about Fairlaw's discourse analysis, critical discourse analysis, you will find a case study that tells you how the discourse of a certain speaker is being analyzed. What words were expected, what structures were, what phrases were expected based on the history, based on the structure of the organization, based on many contextual aspects interrelated and interacting and imposing certain things on the discourse. Over here, you'll have some research topics of discourse analysis and what questions we need to ask when we are analyzing a certain discourse from the point of view of discourse, critical discourse analysis. We want to find out if the discourse we're analyzing imitates the world. So in other words, we look at the world. Are there any, again, this is something related to the aspects that shape discourse and are shaped by discourse. For instance, if we're going to talk about a certain topic, let's say about coronavirus or COVID-19, does the discourse we are analyzing representing what's going on these days? Does it represent the world? So we look at that, we analyze that. And here, do the categories of language influence the categories of perception? In other words, are categories of thought influenced by categories of language? In other linguistic relativism. This is something about Whorfian theory. It's actually something to do with certain cultures have certain ways of looking at the world and perceiving the world. For instance, there are certain cultures, I think maybe in South America, where they don't have the terms for certain colors, because they don't see these colors in their environment. I think it was either blue or green. If you're interested, just let me know, and I can give you the literature on that. It's Whorf's, W-H-O-R-F theory, W-H-O-R-F, yeah, and it actually tells you that language and thought and language are interrelated. Language makes us think in a certain way, and thinking makes us talk in a certain way or use certain language. So as I said, in some speaking communities in South America, there are some tribes that don't have terms for colors, for certain colors. And because they don't have those terms, they don't see them. So this is to what extent the relationship is. Okay. Another thing, that you in your I think it's your post, your discussion post, when you're going to check a speech or an article, and look if there are any, I think it's a speech, and look if there are any silences. Does silence play a role? Now, if we take silence as literally, it will mean silence, like pauses and so on. So this is the acoustic silence that we analyze, where the pauses are the pauses made at certain points where the speaker wanted to make a certain come across or make across a certain point, and the silence helped or not. Another silence can be silence from, silence not talking about a certain thing, a taboo, or the avoidance of discussing a certain topic. So for instance, a listener would be expecting, you're listening to a speech from a leader, and given the context, given the world, given all those aspects, you would expect that that speaker would actually address a certain topic, a certain trend, a certain thing. And you'll find out that the speaker finishes his speech and that trend or point is not given any attention and not even mentioned. So this is a kind of silence. So it's the avoidance. You would be expecting certain reference, certain topics being referred to or mentioned, and nothing happens. So this is also a silence. So silence can be physical silence, acoustic silence, and silence can be avoidance of certain topics. I gave you here an example in Arabic, because silence can also be culturally, determined. Actually, critical discourse analysis is very much culturally determined, because you're analyzing language that is actually in play with the society at large. So definitely societies are, languages are of different languages all over the world, and societies are of different societies that speak different languages. So it's culturally determined. So we have in Arabic the word aib, which means a taboo. Don't say that. Don't do this. Don't say that. And we always say it. So aib means keep silent. So again, you see the interaction between language and the society at large. Okay, and here I gave you some types of wording. Again, when you go to the video and you see the case, the practical case, there is a practical case, and I gave you the timing in the video where that practical case is, how to analyze, what things the analysis usually look for and observe. And there, when you're analyzing and working with the word level, you look at certain things. You look at these things, euphemism or euphemism, or word over wording, using metaphor, and or using certain colloquial collocations and colloquial words. I hope this helps, and please have a watch of these two videos. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. Thank you.